How's it going, everybody, and welcome to How Good Is It Really? My name is Jeremiah.
I'm Luke.
And today we are going to be finishing up Season 4 of Stranger Things. Okay, we decided that it was just dragging on way too long.
Yeah.
Trying to finish out Stranger Things, so we're going to talk about the entire season as a whole and kind of the events of the last two episodes.
Yep.
The basic finale of the show, right?
Yeah.
We're just going to go through and talk about, all that.
The rest of it, which all good things.
A lot of good things.
All good things. It's a great show. We were just tapped out doing single episodes. We've got other things we want to talk about.
Yeah.
And as good as Stranger Things is, time keeps moving, and we just need to focus on more stuff. So that's the reason we're going to
If we hadn't taken those couple weeks off, we might have gotten it done.
Yeah, darn it,
time,
life just gets in the way. Yeah, we just have to take care of like real life.
Yeah, that it does.
But anyway,
that it does.
We're just going to wrap up the season finale part 2 ending.
Yeah.
Plus,
well, do you want to run through episode 7 at all?
We might as well just
episode 7 was a lot of setup for the big finale.
Yeah, could we just do like Captain Plot explanation and just like run through everything? Since these episodes basically tie in together so well, if we try to break it up, like it's not really that big a deal. Like if you haven't seen Stranger Things, you're kind of hiding under a rock.
I don't want to worry about it, like covering everything.
I don't want to. You've seen it.
Let's just talk about what we liked or we didn't like.
Yeah, seriously. I just want to be done with this.
Just do the thing.
Just do the thing. Yep.
Completely out of order. Jason died. That's wonderful.
Oh, thank God. Although I will say the fist fight with Lucas, the most unbelievable thing.
We were
in a
talking
show
about
unbelievable things. Like,
yeah, it's so funny that throughout this entire season and really the show as a whole, like some of the most unbelievable stuff is like that. Like Lucas's fight with Jason was like, there's no way Lucas wins that. He's getting hit way too much. Then he comes back and like knocks Jason out in 2 punches. Like that's the most unbelievable part with alternate dimensions and monsters and all. Like that's the unbelievable
this
part. This
show has like a meta of fist fights and underdogs like losing fist fights or winning them. Like we saw Jonathan and Steve get into a fight in season 1, which was over super quick. Like Jonathan threw 2 punches, knocked Steve on the ground, and it was over. And then
Jonathan win that fight?
Yeah, Jonathan won.
Oh, that's right.
And then we saw...
Yeah, because Dustin's like, dude, you want to fight.
Yeah.
When he beats the Russian.
Yeah, and Billy beat Steve in a slightly longer fight. But again, they were much more realistic.
It was a little more like throwing and grappling with Billy. He still like only hit him 2 or 3 times. And that was
well, but once the punches have connected, it's over.
Yeah.
And if you've ever done any kind of martial arts training of any kind, you get hit in the face, that's it. Usually fight's over at that point. If it's a bare knuckle hit straight to like the jaw or to the nose, you're done. That's just the way it is. But yeah, Lucas's fight with him, he's like getting choked out for like what felt like an eternity. What reality was like maybe less than 35, 40 seconds. But that's enough time for all of the blood in your head to not get the oxygen it needs. And he just pops up like he's Rocky and just takes him to town. And it was like, dude, he would have face planted into the planks of that attic so quick from jumping up that quick. It played for drama. I get what they were going for, but
it was a bit much. It was a bit much.
Like, please pay attention to, like, there's such a simple thing that they missed right there.
You just needed to make it just slightly more realistic, like you have in the previous fights.
Or like have Lucas pick up the 44 Magnum that is somewhere on the floor. It just seems to have been kicked across the floor somehow. He fired 1 shot. He's got 6.
Yeah.
Have him grab the handgun and blow him away and like blow him out the window or something, like in synchronization with like Vecna getting like tossed out the window. That would have been cool. Like seeing Lucas like unload 6 or 5 rounds of a 44 Magnum into his chest and blown out the window.
He would
that
not
cool.
have needed to have shot him that many times.
No, but it would have been awesome because we all hated him and we wanted him to die.
It was still very satisfying to have him just
get cut in half
by the Hellgate opening up. That was pretty sweet.
I felt this much pity.
Yeah, I felt that much.
Yeah, it was none. None of the pity.
I don't know if we were supposed to feel that way.
No.
I'm assuming so.
I felt bad when Billy died. I wanted him to kind of have a redemption arc. I mean, we knew he was going to die, but
Billy felt bad for. Jason, you don't. You just don't.
No. Hitler, you've got to die, and I was glad when it did.
Everybody that I've heard talk about the show, no remorse for Billy.
Erica,
not Billy, for Jason,
his other douchebag friend, like straight to the cojones, and then she just like smashes him in the face with something, and then runs off. Yeah, like that was. I think that was well done. Like that's exactly what would happen. You get kicked that hard, and
like holding her down, threatening to like break her arm.
Yeah,
it's a child.
And then she got a moment where she just like,
what are you doing?
She just got a moment where she like broke free, and then just like freaking mule kicks him like right in the crotch.
Like
you're going down.
That's what you do.
And that's exactly what happened. But he didn't like jump up right afterwards, which I was very thankful for. It was like finally a little bit of realism here. We got to see Vecna get his comeuppance, sort of, kind of, not really.
Yeah, I mean, he tanked 5 shotgun blasts and 2 Molotov cocktails.
Yeah, and a 15-foot fall.
At least a 15, maybe 20-foot fall.
Yeah, straight.
Which I mean, he's a supernatural being that exists in
like a hell dimension.
So I don't think they expected it to be easy.
Right.
But I did not expect him to die either.
No, I will.
Like as soon as he fell out the window, I was like, "Oh, he's alive.
Yeah, he's gonna run away.
He's alive." Yeah.
I did not expect Max to get as messed up as she did. Man. I was not expecting that at all. I thought it was gonna get close, but no. They got really she straight up died. Yeah. And then she gets brought back by. Yeah, he did. He opened up the gates. Like Hawkins is now the hellscape that it always has been under the surface, but it is now in full view for everyone to see that like the dimensional splits are just open. It's gonna get real in season 5. I have no idea what they're gonna do.
I don't know, but it's gotta be.
It's gonna
be way darker. Like season 4 was probably the darkest they've gone yet.
It's gonna get even darker in season 5.
It's got to.
And probably more people.
Especially with Vecna coming. Like I'm assuming, like he killed all 4 gates connected. There's giant hell gate in Hawkins. Basically, he's got to be coming with.
I thought for sure Hopper was going to die too, and he didn't. I was thankful that he didn't, and we got to see some. That was a really cool fight.
I'm glad Hopper was really cool. Fight.
He pulled the literal Conan the Barbarian sword and just goes to town on it, which I thought was pretty cool.
It was cool, but really, where'd the sword come from?
I think it was. Well, I asked that same question.
I understand. They have melee weapons
in the courtyard.
Not in the court.
They should. They were still in the courtyard because the fight scene. Remember when they let the prisoners and they gave them all the weapons and they let them go out? Who has
that sword?
One of the guys did. He had that sword.
It's like I get it. It makes sense, but like that sword. That sword is way too fancy and wait for somebody to have had it.
Right.
Is my point.
That. It was cool.
It makes sense. The logic tracks. I'm not saying it shouldn't have been there.
But that sword.
But that sword, like. Nah, come on. You're giving them weak swords, not that sword.
Yeah. Not to mention that it was a high fantasy sword from Conan the Barbarian. So
yeah, straight up Conan sword.
Cool. Again, a little too on the nose for being an 80s show. Little.
Yeah, it was a bit much where it's like that one instant you just overdid it. Like just dial it back, have it be a slightly more normal sword, and the moment still was just as awesome.
Yeah, it would have sold it just as well.
To decapitate the Demogorgon.
Yeah.
So it's still cool.
Yes, very much so. And then
I love the stuff with Antonov and Yuri.
Yes. And we get to see that Yuri is not actually the scumbag that he has been playing. He kind of is.
He kind of is, but he also maybe isn't like...
He's a former soldier in Soviet Russia. Like, this is one of the worst places to live in the world at that time. And Antonov goes into this big, long thing about, him being, like, a really famous leader at one point. Like, having led successful battles against, I think he said... I
don't remember what
I can't remember. This is the 80s, so the last major conflict... it must have been some sort of internal thing, because I don't believe China had any significant... dust-ups with any of its surrounding neighbors. Certainly not China.
I wasn't alive.
I can't remember. But he did make a point about mentioning that, and Yuri saves the day in...
Just a little different tactic, because they tried to persuade him a couple different ways. Like, didn't work. Attack his pride.
Yeah, attack his pride, and that's what sold it.
So Yuri finally came through.
Yep. And he picks them all up in the little helicopter thing. And everybody gets rescued basically, and they all make back Yeah, Katinka, and they all make it back to America, which is really cool. I'm actually a little bit. I am excited to see Yuri and Antonov in season 5. I hope they bring them back. I really hope they bring them back.
I don't know.
They've made a return on every single character that has been in the show up to this point. They've never had somebody just disappear off screen and be like, oh yeah, they're just gonna go do this other thing.
I mean, they've had a few of those.
They've been very intentional with major
where's
face
Dr.
characters. Dr. Clark.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that my blank expression is the point you were making. So,
the teacher from the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. Where did he go? Because
I'm assuming he was
in
just
season 3 too.
I'm assuming just scheduling conflicts.
Because he was
dude
listening
couldn't
to
do
that
the show.
weird...
I imagine that's the real world possibility. But
it's true. But he was doing because Joyce went to him and talked about the seismic thing, and he was building a full diorama of something in his garage while listening to German techno.
Yeah, that wasn't season 3.
Was it 4?
This is season 4.
So it was 3.
It was
a summer episode. It was a summer episode.
First 2 seasons.
Yeah, you're right. No, it was season 3. He was in season 3.
Was he?
Yes.
In any case, he wasn't. My point is, he's not in this season.
Yeah, he wasn't. Which I was kind of sad about, but also not really applicable either. Maybe he could have had a cameo, but he wasn't necessary.
I get it takes
to the plot
place
necessarily.
Over the break, but still.
But hopefully he'll make a return for season 5.
It was a good point. Okay.
Shoot.
Maybe he will.
Mike, Elle, Jonathan, and the gang all get together, and really cool little scene we get with Argyle 2.0, which he's literally called that in the credits.
Yeah.
Who is the employee working at the Dude Bro Pizza. I can't remember the name of
Surfer Boy Pizza.
Surfer Boy Pizza, yeah. And he is literally just Argyle 2.0. And they convince him with the purple palm
palm tree delight.
Yeah, to let them use the freezer to make a sensory deprivation tank so that Elle can combat Vecna in his own.
I piggybacked from a pizza dough freezer.
Yeah,
it's an actual line from the show.
Yep, she it goes into Max's mind and then is able to go into Vecna's mind after that.
Well, she doesn't go into Vecna's mind,
or she just fights him within Max's psyche.
It's just Vecna and Elle fighting inside of Max's mind.
Yeah,
is based. Yeah, kind of.
And she loses at least pretty much for the most part in the beginning. Finally gets her mojo back. She
doesn't do great.
No, not really. She does terrible, actually.
She gets her mojo back at the very
end, but not enough to save Max, who does get killed. Straight up gets killed.
And I would have to say it's probably in part because of Steve and Robin and Nancy and
getting
Eddie
stuck. Yeah, in the hallway. No, Eddie pulls off.
He's not there. He's with Dustin.
Move. Yeah, with Dustin in the trailer.
But then, hitting with Molotov cocktails, all that kind of happens at once. So it's a combination of the Steve gang kind of.
And I was so thankful they didn't kill off Robin or Nancy or Steve. All 3 of them survive, but Eddie dies.
He got it. He got his rock star moment. Though.
He did. He got an epic rock star moment.
Yeah.
Played pretty much the majority of.
No, not the majority.
What was
maybe he played each part.
That's what I mean. He played the song, but he only played the highlights. He plays there's how many solos are in that song? 2 or 3.
Yeah.
He plays one of them.
Yeah, he plays, I believe, the first solo. He plays 1 verse, 1 chorus, the bridge, and 1 solo, which is a third of the song.
Yeah, he nailed it though.
Well, less than that probably.
Little rough on the finger techniques. He's a little rough.
He maybe needed.
We're both guitar players, so
he maybe needed a hand double.
Yeah,
for the close-ups on that part.
Only because they lingered a little bit too much when the music was synchronized to what his fingers were supposed to be doing. Just move your fingers a little bit faster. That's all he needed to do.
He did well enough, but it wasn't.
It wasn't
good enough to linger as long as they did. Yeah.
Better example is Ralph Macchio in Crossroads.
Yeah.
That guy straight up can't play the guitar. You would not know it
by watching him.
He made it look exactly like how Steve Vai, who is the opposite guitar player in that movie, and is an actual god at guitar, wrote and played
both
parts for it. And Ralph Macchio basically just aped his techniques for it. He sold it. It made it look perfect. Not so much in this. So kudos, it did work. There were some parts that were really spot on. Especially like his speed picking was really good, but his fretting hand was slow. It was just slow. There's no other word for it. Like he would literally, you'd hear like 5 notes and his hand would move like once. Which if it's in the same position, you wouldn't need to move your hand, but his fingers don't move either. So it just didn't work. That being said, that whole sequence of events with Dustin and Eddie in the trailer fighting off the bat things was super cool.
Yeah, demo bats.
And Dustin basically like breaking his leg to like get back through the portal after Eddie.
Yeah, they never explain exactly. I'm assuming it's some kind of high sprain.
Yeah.
It's not like casted up.
No, and so he's limping pretty good, so he definitely did something. But Eddie
kind of high sprain.
Chooses to save Dustin and distract the bats so that Nancy and the Steve gang can attack Vecna, and sacrifices himself to attract the bat horde so that they don't go. Which I didn't really get the point of. I was like, dude, just chill in the trailer for a little bit longer. Like, you don't need to run outside. Like, I know it was cool, but you didn't need to.
Well, the bats were in the trailer.
Yeah, but it seemed unnecessary.
Like, he had no way of escaping if he's in the trailer.
Yeah, but like, why didn't he just go through the portal? Like, they're gonna keep attacking the trailer.
The idea was to keep them occupied, because if they leave, then they're gonna go
back
and
in
attack Steve.
Yeah. So I get.
So they can't both go to the portal, because then they'll go and bother Nancy and Robin.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
And I like Eddie's arc over the course of this season, where, like,
bit of a coward.
Well, in the beginning, like episode 1, he says there's no shame
in running away. Yes.
And then later on in episode 1, that's what he does. He's confronted with something and he runs away. And then again in episode 3, he runs away, and he's constantly running. So it's this theme of, you know, he's no hero. He's always running, and then finally, like, that's why, you know, his last words, like, I didn't run away this time, right? Like, that was part of his character growth and him struggling with,
clearly has a huge impact on Dustin, because Dustin has like constantly been living in the shadows of these role models that he looks up to, which Steve and now Eddie, and Eddie is dead, and that's got to make a huge impact on, you know, a freshman high schooler. Like, he's just kind of left without male role models because he doesn't have a dad. He has no dad. Right. Like, of all of the other members of the crew, with the exception of, I forget his name now.
Who are you thinking of?
There's Mike, Luke, Dustin, and the fourth one. Will, thank you. With the exception of Will, Dustin's the only one without a dad.
We at least know who Will's dad is. Like,
right.
We've seen Lonnie.
Yeah, Lonnie he's a
dirt,
douche, but he's still around. Like, we have no idea where Dustin's dad is. Like, none whatsoever. And clearly Dustin kind of like attaches himself to the strongest male presence in the room. Like, that's just what he does. And he just emulates them.
No. A little bit.
Yeah. And, so clearly had a huge impact on him. Robin and Nancy learned to get along and kind of become friends. And Steve and Robin kind of have some reconnection there. Jonathan and Nancy are clearly on the rocks. Like, I don't think that's going to last.
Yeah, the way this ended is like...
It is pretty rough.
I think
writing's
Jonathan,
on the wall with that
when they're out of the cabin, and Jonathan's like, are we good? And Nancy's
you never
like,
asked that,
yeah,
dude.
we're good.
You asked that question,
and everybody there's just like, no, you guys are
not good.
You are not good.
Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out.
So yeah, anyways, Jonathan and Nancy are not going to last long.
That's not going to work.
Which I'm kind of okay with. Like, I'm sad for him, but I'm also kind of okay with, because, like, I kind of want her to get back with Steve now.
Yeah.
Like,
I just hope they don't do that thing where they're like, she just has like this revelation where she's like, I don't need a man to define me. I'm going to be my own person and go do my own thing for a while. Please don't do that. Okay? Don't do that. Clearly, she's torn between the two of them. Mm-hmm. Just have her choose Steve. He's clearly not a drug addict, and he's also got like tons of parenting experience. He's like the babysitter.
Like, to Jonathan's credit, he had good motivations behind some of the stuff he was doing. He just wasn't doing the right thing because of it.
Yeah, he's also...
Like, his slow motion breakup with Nancy because of all these, like, reasons with college and excuses that he was given Argyle earlier in the season and everything. It's like, I understand you're just reacting the wrong way.
I hope his life doesn't end up a trailer park trash, but if he keeps going down the drug route and doesn't go to college, not that going to college makes you a better person. Having been to college, I can tell you for a fact that it doesn't make you a better person. But I hope that they don't go that character arc for him, that he just like ends up like a deadbeat, like, gas station attendant or something.
No, I want good stuff for him.
Yeah, I don't want him to end up a loser like his dad. That would really suck.
Thanks. That's like the one thing he doesn't want.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't want to end up like his dad. So
don't do Jonathan dirty.
No, don't do that. But they're clearly not going to survive that one. On the flip side, Hopper and Joyce are absolutely a thing.
Very much alive. And a thing. Yep.
Which is great because everybody has been asking for that since like season 1.
Finally.
And there was a really good line in the prison where she says, "I can't go to another funeral. I can't do this again." Which was that was some good drama right there. Like I was like, "Oh, I feel that. I really feel that."
Yeah.
Because she watched Sean Astin's character. I can't remember his name. The character Bob. Thank you, Bob.
Maybe.
Yeah, from Radio Shack.
Yeah.
Who I absolutely wish
Bob.
they hadn't killed Bob. Bob was great. But Joyce clearly has some serious issues with the whole dating thing. Like, every time she struck out, granted it wasn't her fault with Bob, but things are working out for her finally. It seems like she's going to have her family unit is all there.
So in season 5, they can't kill Joyce.
Right.
So Hopper has to die.
I don't think so. I think if anything,
I want them both
Will
to live,
or Jonathan.
But like, do you think one of them are going to die?
I think Will or Jonathan will.
No, one of like.
Oh no, I don't.
You don't think Hopper Joyce?
No. I think if they were going to off Hopper, they would have done it when the whole fusion reactor thing went down. Like they're not gonna double game us like that. Like we got you, but this time it's for real. I don't think they're gonna do that. But and more importantly, like I think they've kind of established throughout the season, like Hopper's done playing the hero. Like he's even said that he's like, I'm not going to pretend to be this person that I'm not anymore. Like he wants to clearly be associated with a family again. Like he doesn't want to just be a loner looking for a reason to die, kind of.
Yeah.
Which he didn't have a death wish by any means, but he clearly was on the fence about whether or not he wanted to be a dad and wanted to be a father again and be a husband again. And I think that they're clearly made that distinction that they want that Hopper's character arc is going to go in that direction, that he's going to be
hopefully
involved in that. I don't think they would off him. I think if anything,
hopefully
Steve, Robin, Nancy, and Jonathan are on the line. Or it could be Mike. It could be Mike. Especially with what they're developing with Will having clearly he's gay. He's absolutely 100% gay.
Yeah.
And he's clearly into Mike, like hardcore.
Yes, he is.
So there's a possibility that Mike could end up being the one that dies.
It could be.
If you're just going for straight emotional impact,
I don't know if any of the 4
killing off Lucas.
I don't know if any of the 4 are going to happen.
Max and Lucas have to have their own thing eventually.
Like honestly, when all is said and done, I would not be surprised because they're doing 2 more seasons, right?
Just 5. That's it.
Just 5?
5th season's it.
Okay,
done. That's it.
I wouldn't be surprised if when all is said and done, Elle is dead.
That I would not be shocked by either. If either Will or Elle dies, or a combination of Steve and Elle, or Nancy and Elle,
I just don't see it being any of the original 4 kids.
No, I mean it
like
makes
Elle,
sense.
I could see that any of the boys. I don't know why I don't see it.
I mean, killing Dustin would
suck.
Serious blow to everybody. That would really suck.
But
Dustin's kind of been crapped on, like from the very beginning. Like he get made fun of for having his teeth thing.
He doesn't deserve to.
And
none of them deserve to die.
And then they kind of made fun of him and thought he was BSing when he said he had a girlfriend because.
Yeah.
It's Dustin. Like he had a hard time, like a really hard time in season 2, where he couldn't get anybody to dance with him. Like he really crushed him hard, like really. And I mean, everybody felt for Dustin in that moment. Like that was really hard to watch. So I wouldn't be surprised if they killed Dustin just because he's
Yeah.
like the constant
it
like
could be
glue that holds everything together.
I don't see Nancy or Robin dying either. But I would think it's going to
anybody's
be
guess,
like
then.
any combination of Elle, Steve, Hopper.
Maybe.
Like those are the three that I have in mind. That are like, man, I could see it. I could see it happening.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going to happen.
It's
with
anybody's
Max.
guess, man. Yeah, who knows what's going to happen with Max? Like, she's clearly alive, but when Elle goes into her mind after they go back to the hospital and she goes into, like, the black room with the water on the floor, like, kind of like the astral projection thing that's, like, the medium they use to, like, tell you that this is what she's doing, there's nobody home. Like, there's nothing there. No noise, nothing. Like, even when she went into her mother's mind, like, she was still in a rocking chair, muttering to herself, like, her psyche was still present. It was just severely damaged. Like,
with
Max is gone.
So is Max going to be a vessel for Vecna?
Or potentially her spirit is disembodied.
Could be.
Like, her
it could be
soul
that they
is
got like
somehow
separated, where
stuck.
like her physical body got stuck in this world, but like
Her soul
her
is
spirit or
disembodied,
whatever
yeah.
got like stuck in the upside down.
I mean, that would be a cool... I mean, D&D being like a constant kind of like
I don't know.
instructions book for how this is supposed to go. I'm sure that those of you who are super hardcore into it might know of like something that would tie into that, because every big bad from every season has been a caricature straight up out of the D&D playbook. So maybe you guys would know, maybe not. Just curious.
If any theories, let us know for sure.
Yeah, seriously.
I
Comment
don't
below.
know.
I have no idea either. But
Interesting thought, though.
Eddie's uncle gets some resolution, even though everybody blames Eddie and the Hellfire Gang for everything.
Still, yeah.
Dustin tells his uncle that he was a hero and he died saving Dustin's life. He doesn't tell him how he died, because there's no way that he would believe that.
But he gives him
closure,
general gist,
and gives him his like guitar pick necklace that he clearly he was telling the truth.
Did you ever have a guitar pick necklace?
I did, actually.
So did I.
I straight up did.
Yeah.
I was cringy like that.
Yep.
Although Eddie's was way better than mine. So, but yeah, man, it was definitely a really intense finale. It did
any
not.
characters we didn't talk about, didn't cover.
I'm trying to think. No.
Don't know.
I don't think so. It's good, but very dark.
Let's talk about Vecna. Let's talk about the upside down.
Yeah, let's talk about him for a second.
This did not make sense.
Okay, go for it. Go for it.
So we see Elle have a fight with one at the end of episode 7.
Yes. You talking about in the ballroom or in his like hellscape house thing?
No, in her flashbacks.
Right. Okay.
Where we uncover that she had this fight with one and threw him
through the
portal into the upside down.
Right. Okay. I'm tracking. Keep going.
And then he's like flying through the air.
Right, and then you see him land, and he ends up discovering the mind flayer.
And he's just like flying through the air, and he's getting struck by lightning, and that's like disfiguring him for some reason. And now he's turning into this monster thing for some reason, and then he lands. And I can buy like him having control of stuff, because dude has like telekinetic abilities. Like,
right.
Okay, cool, superpower. I buy
cool.
it. So he controls like the cloud monster and can have sway over the demogorgons and the demodogs and demobats and like all the creatures and stuff. But when did the Upside Down get created? I'm assuming like it was a pre-existing plane of existence, because he went there and things were already there.
Right, and
so
clearly have their like established
plane.
ecosystem, and they do their own thing.
Why is the landscape not actually mirrored to the real world when we first go there?
That's a good point. Like, why does it all of a sudden start
like
mirroring wherever you are in
like
the real
everything
world?
is
There's
tinted
an identical copy
everything
of
is
it.
tinted yellow, not red. And
Maybe they'll go
everything
into that.
is like it's just this barren, like mountainous terrain, like very reminiscent of Mordor.
It looked like Mars and Mordor had a baby. Is what it kind of looked like.
But like clearly they're in a building that he gets shot out of in a facility.
Yeah, and
like but there's
he
no
just gets launched out of the
anything.
sky. He doesn't like come out of a building. He literally just falls out of the sky.
So they're kind of, from what we've seen, betraying their own rules and how we know all this to work.
Unless there's some unexplained reason for why it's a mirror dimension now, and it wasn't always that way.
That's what I was going to get to.
Okay.
Unless, because Vecna, Henry goes there and becomes Vecna, but his entrance into the world and basically opening the veil, so to speak, between the two worlds is what's causing one to bleed into the other. So the Upside Down is becoming corrupted in a sense with our world, so it's becoming a mirror image of our world. I don't know why that could be an explanation. I don't know why it would be, but that could be.
Right.
I'm just saying they didn't explain it, and it doesn't make sense.
And they do answer the question of Brenner doing everything that he did just to get Henry back. Like, his exclusive reason for doing that was to recover Henry.
Which makes sense.
It does. He was the most powerful of them. He was the first.
But he lost to L, so he's not the most powerful.
It's true, but...
But, I mean, 2 is better than 1.
It's true. So
I get it.
Lying his butt
makes sense.
off to L in...
Which helps create, like, a little more validity for stuff he was doing in Season 1, where it's like, they're spying on the Russians and, like, this stuff.
Right, but it was all just a front for him to find...
Yeah, come to find out, like,
Henry.
no... Like,
he was just always looking for that
was like a byproduct
dimension.
of it, but he's really searching for Henry.
Yeah, he was looking for the mirror dimension that she sent him to, that he knew she sent him to.
But now Brenner's dead, so we're not going to get, like,
he straight up got murked by M14 from a helicopter, which...
Yeah.
Heck of a shot, by the way. Like, the fact that was at least 150 yards with a scoped rifle from a moving helicopter that is vibrating at the same time. And that scope had no sway to it. So, that guy, man, Giga Chad with the M14. But anyway, he...
that was one of the biggest things for me that just didn't quite make sense, though, was just the stuff with Vecna and Upside Down. It's like, okay, so how did all this get started? And why are things different then than they were now? Is there some kind of evolution that they're going to go into? Hopefully they do.
Potential plot hole if they don't answer it.
Like, just because it's not explained doesn't mean
it's a plot hole.
It just means not explained at this
Exactly. It's just exposition we haven't been given yet.
So hopefully they go somewhere. If they don't, then I take issue.
Other than that...
But we'll see.
Man, there really wasn't...
I don't know. As far as what they're going to do in Season 5?
Yeah, shoot, it's anybody's guess, man. I've heard rumors that they're going to do a time jump, like 4 or 5 years in the future. To
go into the 90s?
Yeah, to try to explain the age, how everyone doesn't look like a teenager anymore.
I've heard that too, which, like, okay, on the surface makes sense, but then also...
Like,
Elle's got Hellgate chilling in Hawkins for 5 years?
Right, But
they're
kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because COVID happened and there were like 2 years of filming that didn't happen, and like all these kids clearly look like adults now.
Yeah, because they're all between the ages of 18 and 20.
Yeah, like...
Or 21.
Miley Bobby Brown...
I think one of them might be 17.
No longer can pass for a little girl anymore. Like, she is a woman. Like, my wife was very clear to point out, she's like, she's got hips now. And I was like, shoot, you're right. There's no way that they're going to sell this as being like a junior in high school anymore. Like,
yeah, it is getting more tough to sell kids young. So I can understand making a jump forward in time. I don't know how well you can explain that.
Right.
In universe.
I hope they do a little bit of a time jump, and maybe we'll go into like there's going to be like some sort of post-apocalyptic thing, which I'm sure that there's going to be major consequences nationwide.
That'd be cool.
That could be really cool.
But then, like, it always begs the question: well, what have you been doing for 5 years?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
so
when the story picks up,
maybe
why now?
Maybe they'll do a season that's just twice as long to give like enough time to do everything they want, or is it just going to be 10 episodes like it usually is?
This one was only 9.
So are they going to do?
The next one might be the same or less.
You're right. All right, cool. Well, I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah.
I liked it. I think my overall impression for the series, I liked season 3 more. But 4 is very good.
4 is very good. I think
Season 3 for me was more fun.
Probably like Season 3 more as well.
I really enjoyed the jokes and the flow of the story in Season 3 better. Not to say that Season 4 is bad. It was just, I think they spent a little bit too much time in Russia. That storyline drug hard. It was the anchor holding everything back.
Yeah.
And I think that just is a consequence of the narrative that they had to go with. I think COVID happened and made things interesting. And I don't know what the contracts were of everybody, so maybe it was just that they didn't have David Arbor to film with for enough, so they had to like maybe film all of the seasons and scenes he was in very quickly, and that's why there's less of him in the overall show. Or maybe they just wrote it that way, and if they did just write it that way, then my point still stands. I think it holds the show. I think it holds the season back.
Either way, that's until you get to like the last couple episodes. That's some of the more boring stuff.
That really boring.
You don't need to cut away to Kamchatka to Antonov and Hopper just talking for 10 minutes in prison.
Nope.
And then you cut away to something else happening. Like that happened for a couple episodes. Like I'm good. I don't need this.
You don't need to be a filler of them basically just talking about how lousy of fathers they are. We don't care. We don't need to see that. We already know that Hopper doesn't. We already know he blames himself for his daughter's death.
We've already gone through all that before.
Literally, for like 3 seasons, like we're over it. Move on. Give us something else here. Like if you're going to talk about it, go into Antonov. Like we don't need to see more of Hopper's self-defeatist, I hate myself rhetoric. It's just not necessary. It just is what it is. Anyway, overall season impressions, I'd give it like a solid 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it, but season 3 is always going to be my favorite, and in my mind stands out as being the best.
I haven't thought about rating the other seasons, so I don't know where this one would land. In relation to those, I think it probably goes like 3, 2, 1, 4.
See, I would go 3.
Well, maybe not 3, 2, 1, 4. Maybe like 3, 2, 4, 1.
I liked the first season almost as much as I liked the third one. So for me, my order would be 3, 1, 2, 4.
Okay.
Sorry, that's not right. It would be
3,
3, 4, 1, 2.
3, 4, 1, 2.
2, I think, is the laggiest season. I think 2 is not nearly as interesting as the others. It's good, but
I really like 2.
2's good.
They're all great.
But I think
quibbles.
Trying to like which is the greatest of the greatest show that has been made in the past 10, 15 years.
Season 3 is clearly the best.
Yeah, season 3 I think is genuinely the best one. I think they were right on their A game. They knew exactly where they were going to go with the story. They learned their mistakes in season 2 with the random 3 episode just jaunt off into no man's land with the misfit gang that was the Warriors. It was 2, I thought.
It was 1 episode.
It was 1?
Yeah.
No, it must have been
Pretty
more
sure
than that.
That was 1 episode.
It had to have been more than that.
At
least 2.
2 if you're counting the beginnings.
Yeah, I am counting the entire story arc of Elle going off with the the runaway gang as they go randomly track down this janitor that used to work for Hawkins' lab back in the day. Because apparently Brenner is still alive. And they went on this tangent. It did not go anywhere. It was really weird. They never went there again because that was the worst part about season 2, that everyone was like, what were you trying to do?
Yeah.
What was the point?
That was maybe a little bit of them not knowing what they were doing.
Yeah, season 3, they clearly figured it out and they knew exactly what they wanted to do.
Because 8's powers are so dissimilar to everyone else's.
It's true. And
it's very
vastly overpowered.
At first, when you see it, it's okay, cool. Maybe they all had different powers,
right?
But then we get backstory and
they're
all this.
No,
they all had the same powers.
Extent.
Okay, then what was up with 8?
Yeah,
why was that?
Why is she so different? Maybe they'll bring her back. If they do,
maybe.
Hopefully, we get some.
Maybe they'll bring her back and go into it a little bit more.
Yeah, get some closure there.
In retrospect, it looks even more odd now.
Yeah, it was really strange, and they clearly wanted you to forget that ever happened, and so they just made season 3.
No, because they reference 8 a couple times.
They do, but it's always in passing and never with any never with any connection to current events. It's like,
yeah,
oh,
it's not
yeah, that
meant
happened.
to draw attention to her, but the events surrounding her when
when Elle was in the room.
Right, when her mom came back.
Yeah, when her mom was in the room, or Elle came back. Like, you see them two together, but it's only ever in tangential connection to some larger plot point that is currently in the moment. Yeah. So
I think I agree with the 90. I think 90 is a decent score for it.
You think so?
I don't know. I might go a little... I kind of want to go a little bit lower just because there was... Again, I've talked about a lot of the issues that I had with it. Overall, it's really good.
Yeah.
It's just some of the story beats that I just... Maybe it's just I don't like them. Like all the stuff with Jason.
Yeah. And the way he
thankfully,
can just, like,
there's not a whole lot of
mob.
stuff that doesn't make sense. Like, it all tracks, except for the stuff with Vecna and the Upside Down.
Yeah.
Which could be resolved, yet to be decided. But, yeah, maybe it's just I don't like the stuff with Jason. Or, like, half the stuff that happens in Russia.
Yeah, I
got like 85.
I genuinely think that Season 3 was the best. I don't know that they're going to be able to cap that. I think the energy and the vibe that Season 3 had, I hate that word, but I don't know.
But it did.
I don't know what else
it did.
I don't know what other word to describe it by. That season literally was like a live wire connecting everything that pop culture loves about the 1980s with the masterful storytelling that the Duffer Brothers have been able to conjure up over a 10-year...
it hasn't been quite that long.
Feels like it.
Not really.
Since like 2012, hasn't it? 2013?
No.
Maybe it was a little later than that, 2014, something like that. It's been a while. Anyway, that Season 3 was just I think it just had its finger right on the pulse. Yeah. With everything that was good about the 80s and everything we remember being good about the 80s, because hindsight's always 20/20, but everything that people want to remember and love about that time period and mated with everything that we've learned about filming since that time period, and just the writing of everything, the characters, everything was perfect. It could not have been better. I genuinely don't think it could have been any better than it was. It was just the perfect storm. So I don't know that you can do better than that. I think every show has that point where we can all say, oh yeah, that season, that was the defining moment where that show just was on point with everything it did. It made no mistakes. It could not be beat. It was just the best.
Yeah. So probably as good as it's going to get, not to say that everything else won't still be good.
It's going to pale by comparison of its strongest moment. So it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that it's not going to be as great as its greatest moment. Maybe they'll do better than that. Who knows?
They could.
I doubt it, because
we'll see.
I mean, Stranger Things really is just a homage to the 80s anyway. It's a homage to thrillers, science fiction, and with just an extra helping of 1980s goodness. And I think they've really cemented that as being like the show about the 80s that isn't on the nose about being about the 80s, but we all know that's what it is. And they're kind of straying away from that now, obviously, because time moves on and they're getting older. So it's like it was 1986 in this particular season. And I think if they move forward, I would not be surprised if we jump forward to like 1991 or 1990. That's 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, 1990 would be a 4-year jump.
So I would not be shocked if that happened. It would also give them enough time to film it. It will probably be 2 years before we see season 5.
It might be.
So it would be
hopefully not. But
I mean, if they did take 2 years though, for them to get the funding, for them to film it, to work with everybody's schedules, because they're all superstars now, and so they're all getting roles, I'm sure, in other things. And it would make sense in my mind, at least, that 1990 would be a reasonable in-universe explanation of the fact that it took 2 years to get the last season. It would also give us time to build up the hype for it, because I think everybody is like content with the amount of content we have right now. I think that was a lot to absorb.
In 1 year, though,
true,
we're going to be ready. We're going to be ready.
I mean, I'd be happy waiting 2 years. I'd be happy waiting a year and a half. I'm of the opinion that I think that the longer something takes, the better the product is.
Like, I'm not saying they need to rush the season. I'm just saying, like,
I
it might come earlier.
I hate when things just go back to back, and it's like every year. It's like Call of Duty, for example. Every year we get a Call of Duty, and every year it's worse than the one that came before. Except for, and we all know the ones that we're thinking of, everybody's different, but usually the consensus is that Modern Warfare 1 and 2 were the standout, and Call of Duty at, what was it, World at War, and the Call of Duty World War II games that came before that were pretty good, but World at War followed by Modern Warfare 1 and 2, 3 sucked, and then the reboot of Modern Warfare was fairly well accepted across the board.
Advanced Warfare was good.
Yes, but it did not sell the way that 1 and 2 did. And Black Ops, the first and second Black Ops were amazing, but the time period between when those games came out, they were not sequential, like back-to-back releases.
No.
And different studios handled them, but Sledgehammer and Treyarch, I believe, were the two that handled it. I could be wrong about.
I know Treyarch was one of them.
I don't know if it was Sledgehammer. It might have been Sledgehammer Games.
I don't remember.
I don't remember. But it was Infinity Ward and Treyarch. That's what it was, not Sledgehammer. But they handled.
Yeah, Treyarch did the Black Ops
usually
series,
the two different.
Infinity Ward did the
it's usually the two different studios that handle that. But usually, when games take longer to release, they're usually better. I've never seen a game suffer by being delayed. Usually, if there is critical feedback that it's going to suck based on what we've seen so far, and they take it back to the drawing board and they fix things that that are going to be a problem. A lot of games, I would say probably close to 60% of modern releases could benefit from another 6 to 8 months back in the oven before they should have been released. A lot of games are just getting released way too quickly, and films are kind of the same way. And I think people are starting to burn out a little bit. And we're seeing that in the box office, as well as just in like viewer ratings as well. Like Netflix is down, I think, their largest subscriber loss in the past like 6 years or something like that. Like I was looking at the trades, not because I'm investing, I wouldn't know one thing from the other, but I just pay attention to the news, and Netflix was in the news as having lost like a giant chunk of their subscriber base. Along with Disney Plus, most of the subscription services, with the exception, I think, of Amazon Prime, which people are waiting on.
That people were watching on those services are done.
That's the thing. That's the thing is that, like, there's nothing left to watch now. There's no glue to keep people there. There's no content that people want, so they're just subscribing for a week, and then they're done. Yeah, they just binge it and they're done.
Which is how it's always been.
Right, but there is still a correlation between the giant drop-off in people canceling their subscriptions and the price hikes and the lack of content that they are offering for those prices. Like Netflix used to cost like $8 back in the day.
Yeah.
And now it's almost a $20 bill for the most basic package with like one screen. And they are not delivering on the amount of content necessary to do that. They do, but it's a lot of just filler. There isn't a lot. And the numbers support this. Just go look it up. People are dropping like flies from Netflix. They just don't care. And I think that right now, I think that's burnout. I don't think it necessarily has anything to do with what's available, because there's a lot of stuff available. Yeah. I think people are just done. I think people are just tired of sitting in front of their television screens. I think we've all been kept inside for way too long over the past 2 years, and I think that there's a lot of burnout from the amount of politics that have happened lately.
There might be some of that, but I think it's actually probably people don't want to watch things that aren't familiar.
That too.
Like, you watch what you want to watch, and then you don't want to explore anything else. Like, Netflix has a ton of stuff.
That's true.
That you would never watch and never find anywhere else, and people just aren't interested in watching it. That's not necessarily Netflix's fault.
Well, I would agree with you, except for one, it's always been like that. So there has to be a difference between why all of a sudden there is this giant across the board. It's not just Netflix; it's a bunch of other services too.
Yeah, well, the same can be said for like most services,
though.
The same can be said for most services, though.
But it's usually there's growth, not drop off. Like, yeah, you could say, well, they just don't have content people want to watch. But then why has growth always been trending up, and then all of a sudden over the past like 2 years, growth has been not just declining; it's in like a straight like cliff dive. Of them losing money hand over fist. I mean, Disney stock has dropped like 20 points, in the past year. They went from like, I think $40 a share, so somewhere to like $20 a share now. Like Disney has lost a ton of revenue on their share price.
Okay.
A ton. Maybe if you guys have a thought or an opinion about that, post in the comments below. I personally think it's just people are burned out. I think people are done being told what to think. And I think that people are done being preached at by actors, paid pretenders. And I think that it's starting to show. But what does that have to do with Stranger Things? Nothing whatsoever, except for the fact that it's over. And I would not be surprised if it took 2 years for Netflix to put the next season out as a consequence, based on my long tangential spiel about them losing subscribers. Because it takes money to film these things, and a lot of it.
Yeah.
And if they're going to do a good job, they got to spend more money than they did on the previous season, or they're going to need to do something really crazy.
Netflix has never had an issue with money.
They might now.
Like, I'm like just saying, like,
if things continue the way that they are right now, and we end up next year in the same position where they're just losing subscribers hand over fist, yeah, Netflix is going to be in a serious position.
Well, yeah, if you lose
not
enough,
be able to fund
like, do you think that's going to happen?
It might. It might.
I
honestly, I have not seen or heard of a subscription loss this severe, at least in the past 2 to 3 years.
So how much did they gain over the last 6 months?
That I don't know. But I know that the reported loss figures were staggering, to say the least. Like, everybody was like, whoa, those are really high numbers.
I'm just saying, like, you can't just look at what they've lost.
Sure.
Like, well, how much did they grow?
I'm
What's
sure.
their actual, where are they actually at? They don't say for one.
That's a good question.
Like,
if you guys know the answer, to that, though, like if you know what their quarterly growth was for whatever this quarter is in the year 2022, if you're watching this in the future, then obviously this doesn't apply.
That, and as far back as like 5 years ago, like Netflix has always spent more money than they make.
Well, that's what most companies do. I mean, that's just how you have to spend money to make money. However, I will say that... At
least on paper. But, like, again, I don't think it's that big of an issue.
We'll see. I guess we'll see. But I think that it's going to reach...
I'm not worried about it.
I mean, I don't care one way or the other. I don't care at all. I'm tired of giving my money to corporations who don't like me. So I only watch certain things because I have to review them. But I don't enjoy giving my money to companies who think that I am a Neanderthal, or that I am somehow lesser of a person because of an opinion that I have. So I don't tend to care too much about what they... If they as a business do not want my money, then I know that there are other people that they don't want the money of either, and I'm more than willing to give my money to somebody else who does care, like the Daily Wire, who I did subscribe to recently. And their movies are quite good, actually.
Yep.
Really good. If you haven't seen What is a Woman by Matt Walsh, I am not shilling for them. We are not paid by them in any way, shape, or form. I'm sure they have no idea who we are. I don't care. It's a good film. It is quite good. No matter which side of the aisle you line up on, it's just an example of what quality filmmaking looks like. And Gina Carano's movie, too. Danger on the Prairie?
Something like that.
Quite good as well. Anyway, I think that's it for this episode on Stranger Things.
Yeah, now that we spent the last 15 minutes
not talking about Stranger Things. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for us. We loved it. We're excited to see what comes next. We're a little worried they're going to kill off some of our favorite characters, but we also understand that just happens.
It happens. I'm okay with it.
It happens. I'm just excited to see where these actors' careers go after this, because they've all, I think, marked themselves apart from the competition. They're all very gifted, and I think they've really done a good job with what they've done.
We'll see.
I think so, personally. I think that watching them go from being...
They've all done well in this show.
That's the thing, is in this show
they
they've done a good job.
They all have not done well outside of this show.
However, I would love to see... I would love to see them grow into other things. We are finally done talking about Stranger Things, and I am glad that we are done talking about Stranger Things, because I want to talk about other things.
Yes.
That being said, it's a great show. 9 out of 10 for me. Can't wait to see Season 5.
85 for me.
85 for you?
Yep.
Okay. So that's going to do it for this week's episode of How Good Is It Really? And Stranger Things Season 4, which was a win. If you liked this episode, please leave us a like and a subscribe. If you didn't like the episode, Thank you for sticking around anyway. And if you guys have a comment, please let us know below and share the video around your friends and family, people that you think might appreciate it. I would really appreciate it, and so would Jeremiah. And Jeremiah, closing thoughts?
And if you are listening to us over on Spotify, thank you very much. If you could leave us a rating and follow us over there, that helps out a lot as well. And we'll see you next time.
Later.